My next guest is someone who is legendary status, I would say, on YouTube. He has a phenomenal platform, the X22. He puts out fantastic information that really strikes at the heart of the deep state on a daily basis. He's very prolific, puts out a number of presentations every day. It's my honor to welcome back Dave, the founder and force behind the X22 Report. The X22 Report, folks, is dedicated to providing information that the bought-off, lamestream, fake media will not present. He also has a website, x22report.com. Dave, welcome back to Operation Freedom.
Thanks for having me, Dave. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's an honor to have you back, Dave. I want to first touch on what President Trump did yesterday when he signed 4 executive orders on coronavirus relief, which included elimination of the payroll tax for those individuals making less than $100,000 a year, extended unemployment benefits by $400 per week, deferred student loan repayments through the end of the year, extended protections against evictions. And he also stated that he is now also looking at cuts to income taxes for lower and middle income individuals, as well as cuts to capital gains taxes. There are folks here, Dave, in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor that are telling me that I am overstating the significance of what he did yesterday. Your take?
I believe that this is one of the steps, I should say, into moving into transitioning this entire economic system. Let me just back up for a sec, because in the beginning, when he first came into office, what did he do? He got rid of the globalist trade deals. He renegotiated the NAFTA trade deal, made it the USMCA. I do believe that eventually he will get rid of that, but it was so tied up in Congress that it'd be too difficult. He placed tariffs on China. He moved a lot of the supply chain out of China with the tariffs, and then we had this pandemic. And since this pandemic, what he has done is he used this event to push forward the agenda of building, and I call it a parallel economy, just like they did back in the 70s, prior to the 70s, where they had the petrodollar, where they were creating the Middle East, where all the countries were going to sell the oil using the dollar. Well, back then we had the gold standard, and we had this new economy, which really no one knew about. He's doing the same thing today, but in reverse. And what you just mentioned with the executive order is exactly another step in this process. And by the way, what's not in this executive order is funding for mail-in voting, bailouts for Democratic cities, and there's no special interest pork in this. If you really look at what he's done here, this all goes to the people. And I do believe this is a step where he is going to show the people what it's like to have a paycheck without the tax. Now, this is going to do 2 things. One, those people are going to get an immediate increase in wages. We've never seen this before. This is just absolutely incredible. All those people making $100,000 or less, all of a sudden, they get to keep their money. The money that they're working for, they get to keep it. Now, what will that do to the economy? Well, if people have more money to spend, people feel good. Just like if your house is appreciating, if your house appreciates and you bought it, I'll just make up a number of $200,000, you bought it at $200,000 and went up to $250,000, people feel good. They feel confident. When you're receiving more of your check, people are going to feel incredible. I just got this incredible, increase in wages. It could be 10%, 15%, depending on where you are in the tax bracket. And it's going to make people feel great, and they're going to take this money, and they're going to put it back into the economy. They're going to save it. They're going to do whatever they're going to do with it, but it will drive the economy forward. I think the other thing that this is going to do is this is going to show the people what it's like not to have a private Western Central Bank tax. And I know the government taxes people, but this was created to pay for the interest on the money that we borrow from the Federal Reserve. Remember, the Federal Reserve is not part of the United States government. It is a private corporation. They loan the money to the United States government with interest attached, and then the people have to pay for that interest. I do believe that he's showing the people, because you just can't tell them. You just can't say, hey, by the way, the private West Central Bank is bad. They loan the government money. A lot of people won't understand that. But what people will understand is that, wow, this is what it's like not to have taxes. And the other thing about the executive order, which I think is very interesting, remember the Supreme Court ruled that Trump can't write an executive order to cancel the DACA executive order that Obama wrote? Well,
right.
They set a precedent there, and if he's writing up this executive order that says there's a payroll tax holiday, if he's not in office, this already sets it up where another president can't write an executive order to cancel his executive order, which I find very interesting.
I do as well. But Dave, all you have to do is look at the reaction of some of the globalist puppets, whether it's Schumer or Pelosi or Romney or whoever it might be. They're absolutely hysterical over these executive orders. Oh, he do that. He can. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. And in fact, one of the reporters yesterday asked him, well, there could be a lawsuit against you. And the president was like, oh, okay. So in other words, Pelosi, Schumer, Romney, whoever the globalists might be, they're going to sue him in court to deny people their payroll tax money. I mean, he cannot be in a better position on this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a complete setup. Think about how they're going to look. They're going to argue that they don't want people to receive their stimulus check. They're going to argue that students shouldn't get loan relief because of the pandemic. They're going to argue that people should be thrown out of their homes. I mean, their arguments are going to look ridiculous. Yes, he didn't have Congress. They didn't create the law, but they couldn't get anything done. Remember, we're in a national emergency. He signed the Defense Production Act. He signed the Stafford Act. He has all the power. Actually, they gave him all this power. And I do believe they thought he was going to use it to be like a dictator, where he was going to tell each state to shut down. This is what you have to do. But Trump, he's based in the economy realm, because this is how I look at it when I look at what he does. He believes that the economy is the focal point, and I do too. I think the central bank system, the private West Central Bank system, I believe that is the problem of all of this, because with the central bank, what this does is it breeds corruption. It created the swamp. It created the deep state, because when you have an open credit card and you can continually borrow and borrow and borrow and nobody knows where all these funds are going, you can launder the money through entitlement programs, have it come right back to you. I do believe what he's doing now with the economy is he's building people up from the bottom up. Right now we have a wealth discrepancy between the very wealthy, the elite, and the middle class and lower middle class. And I do believe what he's doing right now is that he is going to build the people back up, and he's going to narrow the gap. And once people have more money in their pocket, once people have better jobs, as manufacturing returns to the United States, because think about it, through this pandemic, what has he done? He brought manufacturing back for ventilators. He's brought manufacturing back for the creation of masks. He brought it back for testing. He brought back the pharmaceutical manufacturing with Kodak Pharmaceuticals. He's bringing it all back. Sorry, did you say something? Or
no, he is, and they're in the deep state is panicked over that.
Oh, they don't like this at all. And I believe his entire mission is to bring the people up to a certain point where they feel incredible, they feel confident, they feel good, and they realize, wow, this is how it always could be. I don't have to live in debt. I can receive my full paycheck. I have an incredible job. I mean, he didn't even get the health care yet. But, I mean, he lowered the price on insulin and other things, and people are shocked by this. But once we get to that point, once people start to feel this and see it, people are not going to want to go back to the way it is. And that's what the deep state is afraid of, because they've kept people, the central bank, the deep state, they've kept people down for so long that once people get a taste of this, they're never, ever going to want to go back to it. And once people are woken up to the fact that it could be like this, you can't put it back to sleep. The genie's out of the bottle, and the deep state, they have a big problem on their hands.
An enormous problem. Folks, we're speaking with Dave from the X22 Report, YouTube channel X22 Report, also website x22report.com. Dave, what you do great presentations, and one of the quivers in your brilliance category is you looking in the future and saying, hey, look, here's where other steps are going to be taken, and this is where I think we're going. What other steps do you believe he's going to take before the election to, if you will, undermine what the deep state has been doing to blow apart the economy?
Well, I think, the deep state right now, what we're seeing is the pandemic, we're seeing the riots, the protests, we're seeing all this, and I do believe that this is all he's allowing all of this to happen. He could have shut this down a long time ago. He could have brought the troops in to all the cities. He could have just shut it all down. This is actually what the deep state wanted. He could have taken the pandemic. He could have shut it down with HCQ, and he could have just said, okay, we're over and done with. But what he's doing right now, he's allowing the public to see the true agenda of the deep state. And what I do believe he has in his arsenal right now is he wants America to wake up to the fact that this is what they truly want. They truly want the United States to be a socialist country, a third world socialist country without the Constitution, because that's been their plan all along. And each time they try to do this, and each time they push their agenda, I'm talking about the deep state, it gets worse and worse for them. The riots in different areas, in Oregon, in Seattle, in all different areas, people are waking up to the fact that this has gone far beyond George Floyd or police or anything like that. Now they're burning books, they're burning the American flag, they're just destroying businesses, they don't care. People are watching this. They're also watching the governors, the mayors of different states with the pandemic saying that, okay, in New York City, we're going to have checkpoints. Oh, you have to wear a mask. Oh, you will follow orders. I mean, remove the pandemic, remove the cover story, and just look at exactly what they're doing. They're acting like dictators. But he wants people to see this because this brings people to a level that they've never been before, because you just couldn't say, hey, if I told you like last year, by the way, we're going to have a pandemic, nobody's going to be able to go to work, you're going to have to wear a mask, and then at the same time, there's going to be protests and riots where they're going to burn businesses, they're going to burn books, they're going to burn the American flag. This is all going to happen. No one would believe me. They would think I was crazy. So now people are seeing this, and they're seeing the true agenda. We know that the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the Ds, they're trying to stop the elections. They already know that they can't win this. I mean, first of all, Biden, he's a mess. I do believe, my personal opinion is I think he's acting right now. I think he's pretending that he can't remember anything because he knows that he's going to be put on trial. And mentally, he won't be competent to stand trial. And I think he's heading down that path. And first of all, I think since he's heading down that path, they're going to replace him with a different candidate. The other thing they're trying to do is with mail-in voting. I think they're trying to not win by mail-in voting. I think they're going to try to delay the election where they think they can have Nancy Pelosi or have the House have someone appoint another president to fill the position while there's a delay. But once again, the House is going to be voted in, and we don't need a House. We don't need Nancy Pelosi. We don't need any of this stuff. I think Trump's trump card for all of this, I think he's going to use HCQ. He mentioned this back in March. He did it for a reason. Even though the press came out and said, it will kill you, you can't use it, it hurts your heart. They held up the Lancet report. They had the VA observational study. Those turned out to be fake. Now we have a lot of clinical trials during this whole entire time. There's been clinical trials. There has been tests on it. I think what he's going to do is, since we had this entire time period, I think the FDA eventually is going to approve it, and he's going to use this as one of his trump cards as we approach the elections. I think he's going to use it to say that people can go and they can vote in person. You don't have anything to be afraid of. There's no reason to be afraid because we have some type of medication that will cure you. And I think he's waiting for the right moment to use it, and it's going to blow their entire plan out of the water. And this is why I think they're planning on something else to happen, maybe during the election or a day after the election, where they might try some type of cyber attack or blackout or something like that to shut it down, to delay the election even further. But once again, the power grid is not as weak as everyone thinks. I do believe they have protection in place. They're prepared for this, and I don't think this is going to succeed, just like everything else is not going to succeed. Everything the deep state has been trying to do, if you really look at it, it's been failing. They thought, if we have the pandemic, the economy will fall apart, the market would fall down to 5,000 points, and we could blame everything on Trump. Look, unemployment went up to 25%, we're in a recession, but it worked in the opposite way. Because, remember, those numbers are in the past. All he had to do was open up the economy. Automatically, the numbers were going to improve. So we went from 25% unemployment all the way down to 10% unemployment. That looks incredible for him, because now it shows everyone that he can take a complete disaster and improve it. Plus, what else is very interesting about the economy part is that Obama used to say, well, this is my economy. I handed it off to Trump. Well, he just severed that with the pandemic, because now the economy is all his. Because we went into a recession, as the mainstream media likes to say, and now he's brought it back. Retail is up. We see home sales are up. I mean, if you look at different sectors, they are starting to form a V, just like he said. And I think as everything opens up and everything fills to capacity, we're going to see more and more of this. I mean, his other stage of the plan is opening up schools, which will allow parents to go back to work. And I do believe this was all planned out by his team, and they're just moving forward with it, and the economy is going to improve as we get closer to the election, especially with the payroll tax, with the deregulation. It's going to look incredible. Everything they tried to do is failing.
A concern was when he was recently in Ohio, he made the statement, quote, "You're not going to see me for a while." Spoke about his enemies, said, "You're not going to see me for a while," end quote. Ended up flying back to his one of his club ownerships in Bedminster, New Jersey. Your take on that,
right,
Dave?
Well, I think that there's a reason why he said that, where he said there's a lot of enemies out there that want to get me, especially the pharmaceutical companies, especially the deep state players, because he's doing things that they do not want him to do. And I think everyone needs to understand that the swamp, it's deep and wide, and this goes into not just government, not just Hillary Clinton, not just Obama, but every aspect of government and businesses and sports and Hollywood. So he's making a lot of enemies. He understands this, but to put America on the right track, he needs to do this. And I think the reason why he said this is because he's going for the jugular. And I think he's going to be in a separate location, a location that we're not going to know. Even though he went to Bedminster, I think he's going to be insulated. I think he's going to be protected. I think what we're seeing right now is the Ukraine angle. We had those raids, in Miami and other places where they collected documents. We see Julian Assange. He's going to testify about what happened with Seth Rich. Mm-hmm. We see Ghislaine Maxwell, where the deposition was declassified so people could read it and see what was really going on. And we're having the drips of declassified information about what's happened with Spygate, Obamagate, whatever you want to call it. And each time information comes out, it gets worse and worse. And I believe that one question with Bill Barr, when he was in front of the House, when they asked him, are you going to release the Durham investigation before the election or after the election? And he said he has no problem releasing it before the election. And the House representative of Florida said, well, I have the Department of Justice policies, and you know what they say, right? Well, they don't say anything about going after people that aren't running for some type of spot in government. So,
correct.
Like Obama, Brennan, they're fair game.
Clapper, Hakomi,
Clapper,
all of them.
All of them, you name it. It's fair game. So I think what's happening now, and this is like the perfect storm, all these pieces are starting to come together right now, and I think he's warning the public that it's going to go down. And I think as this goes down, I don't know if they're going to arrest every single person, but I think the deep state, as they see this happening, I think we're going to see a lot more riots. We're going to see them really push their agenda, and they're going to try to go after them. I mean, I already see on Twitter that they're scheduling a White House siege for 15 days. I don't know why you would broadcast this, because who broadcasts a siege or a revolution? You don't broadcast and you don't schedule it. But they're already broadcasting that, and I believe that he's already preparing to go after all these individuals, because we know the Durham investigation is winding down now, and it will be produced at the end of the summer. And I don't think this is going to be a report. These are going to be indictments. They're going to be arrests. It's not going to be a nice little booklet and everyone can read through it. This is about the grand jury. This is about indictments. This is about arrests. This is about going after all these individuals. And this is why they've been investigating for such a long time, because they wanted to create a narrative, a story on how they can put all this together to understand what they have done. And plus, they need to explain this to the public and produce all the evidence. I mean, we were so brainwashed with the deep state where, if an event happened or something happened, they had the answers like an hour later. Well, that's not how a real investigation works. The investigation takes a very long time to understand the true inner workings of what they have done, and I believe this is what Durham has done, Bash has done, Barr has done, and all the others. They've been putting all the pieces together to create this narrative to show the people, and once they're put on trial, to explain exactly how they did this. And you can see it, it's all coming out now. And these individuals, they're screwed right now. There's no way out for them.